Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. We are honored to introduce Jason Vanlandingham. Jason has earned over $4 million in reining competition, is a two-time NRHA Open Fraternity Champion, a two-time NRHA Open Derby Champion, and a three-time NRBC Open Classic Champion, making him the only trainer in NRHA history to have won all three legs of the Triple Crown twice. He is also the only back-to-back Run for a Million champion. Thank you so much for joining us on Elevate Your Ride today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So to be able to win at the highest level time and time again, you must have a strong mental game. What do you think you've done to create such a competitive spirit?
The mental game for me goes back. I think a lot of it whenever I was a kid playing ball. I always loved to compete. So I think that learning how to control, your emotions in stressful situations. I think that's a big benefit to me in this sport. So as far as the competitive spirit for me, when you think about competition in general, I love to compete. I love to see how I stack up against other guys. We do this all day, every day. So we put in the work, and then we want to see how we compare to the other guys that are doing the same thing that we are. So the competitive side of things has never been an issue for me. I love to compete. I love the challenge of it, but being able to control yourself in a competitive situation, I think the thing that separates a lot of the guys, being able to control their emotions, be able to control your breathing, being able to keep the right spots in your body relaxed, so you're not sending energy into the horse that the horse doesn't need to be feeling in stressful situations. So all that stuff, it plays into a big part of it. And then for me, I also know that I put all my confidence in the Lord, and what's going to happen is going to happen, and it's not going to affect my salvation at all. So, when we get in a stressful situation, and if it's life or death to us, that's one thing, but this is not. And we go out and try to be the best we can, and trust the good Lord that the things are going to work out like it's supposed to, and then move on from there.
Yeah, it's really special, I feel like, to believe in a higher power that can help us and guide us through all this, and that not like what we do in this world isn't quite as important as the end part. And so, how do you think that has given you kind of a peace and the ability to step into a competitive ring and be okay with the outcome no matter what?
Yeah, so that actually is something that it took me a while to allow. I mean, I've always been somebody who trusted in God, I thought, but it took me a while to really be okay with the outcome, and to understand that the answer to my prayer is not always yes. I pray a lot for our success, and I think at the beginning I was praying for our success for me. And so early on in my career, I've always been somebody that my faith has kind of been worn on my sleeve a little bit, but I believe that my prayer was always for me to have success, for me and for my family to have success. And I think as time went on, I realized that success, by having success, it would open doors for me to be able to show the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so as my prayers life started to change, we would have success, so that so we could share the good news of Jesus and be able to bring others to Christ. I think that's whenever, well, one, we started seeing more success, first of all. But the other part of that is whether we had success or didn't have success, I know that my mind was in the right spot, trying to think of putting others first rather than putting myself first. So I could sure live with the results a lot better. And then ultimately, the whole thing just kind of works in sync together. If you're getting up in the morning, you're wanting to go to work, you're wanting to work for the Lord, to do all that you can, the best of your ability, as if you're working for the Lord, then your work ethic's going to be better. We've been blessed with some great stock to be able to ride, and it always comes down to being able to put the work in, to have the quality animals that are capable of winning, and then trusting that your work is going to be where you're prepared to the best of your ability, I guess, whenever you show up. And then whenever you show up at a horse show, and your confidence is in the right spot, your confidence is in the work that you've put in, to where you feel like you're the most prepared that you can possibly be, then it takes all of the stress out of it. And if you can show up at a horse show and be able to control your emotions and keep your stress level down, and that's going to transition over to the horse too, to keep their stress level down. They're going to be able to focus and be the best that they can possibly be. And then you're going to start seeing success.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share a little bit more, maybe like a story about when you trusted your faith and you controlled your emotions and how it turned out really well for you, maybe in an unexpected way, even?
Well, I can tell you this, not rough at all. Whenever we were showing him, and I can say the same thing about a vintage smoke, but not rough at all. We were going through his 3-year-old year. He was winning all the pre-futurities, and he was the most physically talented stopping horse that not only had I ever ridden, but that I'd ever seen. And I really felt like if I did not win the futurity on him, that it was going to be my fault. The Lord had blessed me with a horse that was plenty capable of doing it. Now, the stressful part was, am I talented enough to have him prepared to the best of his ability to be able to show it off on the first Saturday in December? And so whenever I'm jogging around preparing, I tried to keep everything slow in my preparation throughout the week and try to build for that Saturday night finals. But as I was jogging around in the Gateway of Champions, going down into the Coliseum, I felt a tremendous amount of confidence just come over me, and I believe that was the good Lord just kind of boosted me up a little bit, saying, "I've got you here." And so I kind of threw everything out the window as far as all the caution that I'd had all week, and I just dropped my hand and went in there and tried to be the best that I could possibly be, and it worked. And then the doors that were open because of that, the people that we got to come in contact with, the relationships that we were able to build, ultimately, I believe that God was glorified through that, through the things that we were able to do after that. So it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain the confidence that wells up whenever you trust in the Lord, but that's where mine comes from. I tried the whole confidence in myself thing for a long time, and I was a failure that way. But whenever I put my trust and my faith in the Lord, and the things started, it started to roll for me better. And truly believing that success was going to come, so that way we could glorify Him. So I know a lot of people look at me and say you're crazy and you're out there horse showing for Jesus or whatever. And you can say whatever you want, but it's the bottom line is that's what I feel God has blessed me with the ability to be able to do, and so I'm going to glorify Him with the results. So
Yeah, and you most definitely have. I was there back in it was 2013, right, when you won with
yeah, yeah.
and I remember that, and it was such an electric run, and like you said, you just looked so confident, and you could tell that there was someone riding with you to give you that strength to be able to hit each maneuver just boom, 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 like clockwork, and, like, it was really, really cool. So that was over 10 years ago now. So how have you been able to, through those 10 years, keep pushing yourself and not allow that one victory be kind of enough for you?
So I think that's the beautiful part about our sport. So every day is a new day, and it didn't matter what you did yesterday. You still got to go pay for your mortgage the next day, whether you were successful or not successful. So you still got to get up and you got to get after it, and got to get to work. But the beautiful part about what we do is we have with our aged events is we're always building the next class of horses. We're always building that next group. And so the challenge is there every day. Whenever you wake up in the morning, I know that Casey and Craig and Sean and Andre and Cade and all those guys are out there busting their tail every day. And so that gives me the motivation to get out there and get after it and get to work. And so that's an awesome thing about our sport, that we get to continue to go out and compete. And if you're successful one day, you can get your tail kicked the next day. And so it can be a little bit of a roller coaster, but we know that there's always going to be tomorrow, and people are going to be working for tomorrow. So you better be out there working too. So our sport is so awesome in that way. It challenges us every day to get up and do our job. And there's not a lot of jobs out there like that. If you're doing the regular 9 to 5 job, to where if you have a bad day, it doesn't really show up in the results. That's not what we do. If I go out there and I train bad for a day, it's going to set me back for a couple of weeks. And then I got to try to overcome that. So you got to come with your A game every day, knowing that everybody else is out there trying to come with their A game. So this is a sport that we get to push each other and all grow as an industry. I think that we're growing in leaps and bounds right now because of that competitiveness and because of everybody striving to be the best that they can be constantly and trying to match up against the other guys. It really pushes you to max yourself out. And then that shows up whenever you get to the show pen, whenever you're constantly getting better.
Yeah, and it seems like the reining community has a really good camaraderie where you guys can be out there wanting to beat each other, but yet you're at the back gate cheering just as loud for them as, your crew is for you. And I think that's really special to be able to see, and it has to probably feel real good to go out there and support each other.
Yeah. So when we first got started out in this deal, or not first got started out, but whenever we had been in Texas for a little bit, Craig Schmersel, they moved to Oklahoma there, and I had a nice horse in 2005, but Craig was who Craig was, and I was who I was, and nobody knew who I was, and so the people that owned the horse after the horse had success as a 3-year-old, they picked him up and took him to Craig. And Craig, he said, "Hey man," he said, "I don't want Sean to get this horse." So he said, I'm gonna take him and see what I can get done with him." And I said, "Hey man, I understand that's part of the business, but is there any way I could come ride with you sometime?" He said, "Hey, oh yeah, come on." And so I would go ride at Craig's once a month, and he would help me and never charge me anything, and just help me get better. And it's not just him. Tim McQuay did the same thing for me. Every time I've asked Dwayne Latimer or Todd Bergen or just any of those guys that are legends in our industry, nobody was ever hesitant about offering up their help. And now these guys have turned into some of my best friends in the world. And they cheer for me when I'm successful. The first time we won the run for million, Craig was standing at the back gate. He was the first guy to shake my hand whenever I came out of the pen. Last year, Casey Deary's doing the same thing. I mean, it's really special, the kind of bond that we have. Yeah, we're trying to beat each other and compete and be the best that we can, but we still want success for our friends.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopindowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and I'm here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride. Did I hear on another podcast that you take your physical fitness pretty seriously?
It's something that I've always done. Yes. So I feel like in order for me to compete to the best of my ability, that my body needs to be in shape. And the older I get, the more I'm finding out that it's that much more important. But it's also that much harder to motivate myself. I've always in the past, whenever I stepped off my last horse, I go inside, I throw my tennis shoes on, and I go take off running down the road. And if I go in the house and I sit down, it's really hard to motivate myself again, because you just you take that big deep breath, and it doesn't. It's hard to get motivated to get yourself back out there. But if I just go in the house, throw my runners on, and hit the road, then I'm okay, and come back and get my weight work in, and everything is better. Whenever I'm not doing those things, and really even more so important than the running and the lifting weights and stuff, is the flexibility.
Yeah.
I used to have back issues and all that kind of stuff. And if I can stay on top of my stretching of my hamstrings and hip flexors and keep my core in the right spot, then I usually don't have any back issues, which is hard for a horse trainer. It seems like a lot of us have back issues because we're pounded on all day long in our backs and running and stopping, and the horse gets stiff up front or whatever, and it jars you. So you can get things knocked out of place really easy, especially if you're not flexible. When those muscles start tightening up on you, then everything gets pulled out of alignment. And so the flexibility is huge. Your core work is huge. And then just keeping your cardio up so you can go make a run and not be out of breath. So lots of that stuff's important.
Yeah, 100%. True for all of that. You have to have the flexibility to be able to go through the range of motion of the horse loping, the horse stopping, the horse spinning. Like if you don't have that range of motion through your hips and through your back, then you're just going to be compensating for it. And then if you don't have the strength to hold your body there, then that's when you start tearing things and things start to not go so great. So that's awesome that you really focus on that. What do you do specifically, like, for your workouts and that sort of stuff?
Well, I'm not as good about it as I used to. I've always been a push-up guy, so that's something that I
Yeah,
still always do. Yeah, I'm going to do a couple hundred push-ups every day, and it's
that's
not. I
impressive.
mean, it takes you 15 minutes to knock them out. And whenever we do our running from my back gate, I go south, and I we kind of wind around, and there's a flagpole that I've measured off at the mile and a half from my house. So I run to that flagpole and I turn around and run back. So it's a 3 mile run, and then just doing weights, lunges. I'll hold my little 35s and do my lunges and curls but just core work. I don't do anything heavy at all. Used to whenever I was younger, I tried to hit the stuff heavy and I don't really see the benefit of what that's doing for me. So
Yes.
everything's core work and just keeping things tight and then flexible.
Yes, yeah, 100%, yeah. There's no reason, that you need to be out lifting a bunch of really heavy weight, doing, really heavy barbell work, that sort of stuff, because then you are at a much higher risk for injury, and you can't go make money if you're injured. So that's obviously not a good thing. So yeah, I love that you really, really focus on the flexibility, the cardio, the strength training, all that sort of stuff. I think that's awesome.
Where did you learn how to count these things? Was it just by listening to your body, or did somebody kinda guide you through it?
Okay, so obviously, just from working out whenever we were kids playing ball, working out has been part of my life since I was little tiny. I mean, my brother used to make me do push-ups and sit-ups whenever I don't even remember when I started, 2 or 3 years old. He would be making me do those things. But when you get into playing ball, you got to work out to be competitive. But as I got older, I did start having some back issues early on, and so really, I found on YouTube, which is the dumbest thing you would think, but I get to looking at why I'm having all these back issues. And it always comes down to everybody said the same thing. It's flexibility, your hamstrings and your hip flexors.
Yes.
And so I went after those things. And then I just started finding different exercises to strengthen those specific things. And so, like I said, lots of lunges and stretches and those kinds of things. I think a push up is the best thing you can do for your core. And so I've always done a lot of those, but it's just been a kind of a process as I get older. The kind of working out that I do has changed for sure.
I love that you're kinda self-taught on that. So, do you apply that to other areas as well? Like, is self-teaching something that you're strong at?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, as far as like the horse training deal is concerned, whenever I came up, I knew absolutely nothing about reining horses until I was 20 years old. That's whenever I saw my first reining horse.
Wow.
And I worked for a guy in Illinois for 10 and a half months. And then I was at Craig Johnson's for 3 years. We had kind of a different arrangement. So we weren't riding together every day by any means. And so as far as having somebody else show me how to do things always, that's never really been how I've gotten my knowledge. So yeah, it's been trying to figure things out on my own on the horse training deal, which takes forever. If you can find somebody who's really good that's willing to teach you, that's the route to go. But yeah, a lot of self-taught stuff as far as that's concerned and asking other people. But the same thing is true of trying to keep my body where it needs to be, asking other people who do the same thing that we do. Because our sport is unique. It's not like we're strapping on pads and going and banging up against each other like they are in football or running up and down the court in basketball. We're dealing with 1,000-pound animal bouncing us around every day. So
I do have a specific question for you though about your current routine because I struggle currently with lower back pain. So what have you found that has been the magic potion for you on that? What do you do exactly?
for me, and I guess it's probably different for everybody, but I do a lot of just straight up hamstring stretches. And a lot of it's nothing more than straight legs, reaching down and grabbing my toes and then starting to spread my legs out and going from side to side. But everything I can do to put stress on my hamstrings, I do that. And then just basic stuff for your hip flexors as far as, picking your foot up behind you and pulling until you feel that stretch, or kicking your foot over the side of the bed and dropping down as low as you can and trying to stretch the front of that hip flexor. I do a lot of that. I do a wide lunge, get them as far apart as you can, and then just up and down. But I only go about 3/4 of the way up, and then I try to get a lot of depth, and I do them really slow. I keep my shoulders really far back. That works really good. And then there's a thing you can do, like just sitting on a mat or on the floor, and kind of have your feet out wide, but your knees bent, and then just touch your knees to the center. And like if you can touch them to the ground, like one at a time, straight in front of you, but keeping your foot flat on the
Mhm.
ground out to the side. If you can do that, then you've got quite a bit of mobility in your hips. And that means that everything's stretching good. And if you can't do that, it's going to tell you like you're going to feel it pulling somewhere. And then you go to work on that spot. And then I use rollers quite a bit too,
Yes.
or like a massage gun. I use those on my hamstrings and hip flexors as well to just kind of roll those muscles out and try to get them as flexible as I can.
Yeah, I love that you said that you use the rollers a lot because I'm a personal trainer for equestrians. That's my day job. That's what I do all day. And I have pretty much all my clients do foam rolling, or at least they're supposed to. And a lot of times they don't take me seriously. And I'm like, no, I promise. Like it's really good for releasing a lot of tension in your muscles. So I love that you do that.
Yeah, and I use the foam rollers, but those little handheld, like they have a handle on either
Yeah.
side, and you could like put a lot of
Yeah,
pressure on
those
them,
work great too.
and it's almost like a yeah, like you're rolling out dough
Yes.
or something. But you can really you can smash those hamstrings out, and that helps a lot.
Do you do this when you're at the horse shows too?
I take them with me, yeah,
Love that.
and it's and really the horse shows your back can get messed up more than anything else because you get out of your normal routine. The horse shows were spread out all over the place, walking all over the place, and you're walking in your boots instead of your runners, and so you're just striding differently. Your eating schedule's different. You're probably not hydrating like you should. So there's a lot of factors that can start messing with your back whenever you're at a horse show or getting things out of whack. So it's probably more important to take care of yourself at the show than it is at home just because you're out of your normal routine.
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely relate to that. I know that it's longer hours, it's different sleep schedules. And like you said, the food too. I feel like that becomes a really big disruptor of when you can eat healthy, like your body just feels better. And at a horse show, you can do your best. But when you're on those random schedules, like quick is sometimes your best friend rather than maybe what's quote unquote best for you.
Yeah, I'm not a great eater anyhow. I like the taste of food and I eat kind of what's in front of me.
That's awesome.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the become a supporter or become a sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends. So, when you're at a horse show, when you don't really have a routine, how do you keep your mindset kind of focused on the next class and maybe the difference between a prelims run and a finals run?
I have a game plan, put together on every horse whenever I show up at the show. So if I'm at the futurity, I know the score that I want to mark in the first go for what horse I'm on. I know what maneuvers I want to plus at a half, what I want to try to plus at a one, and where I need to stay safe and where I want to challenge the horse. All of that plan is put together before I ever show up. So it's just stick to the plan and then don't override my horse at the horse show. I think the worst thing that happens whenever you show up is the horses maybe not quite as focused as they are at home, and so people get to jerking and snatching and causing issues to where if they would just be patient and spend that extra 15 minutes on them just doing stuff quiet and getting their mind focused so they can do the hard stuff easier. I think that that's the key to things, because so many times people cause problems when they get to the horse show instead of just sticking with the game plan whenever they get there. And then they're wondering why their horse isn't going good. Well, you weren't fair to them when you showed up. You didn't give them time to settle in. You didn't stick to your game plan. And so it got them off of their game plan and got them off of them being as focused as they could be, or feeling as confident as they can be. The whole thing for young horses is confidence in what I'm doing. If they are confident in my cues and confident in how to respond to my cues, then there's no stress for them. They can go compete at whatever ability that they have. If they're a plus half turner and they understand my cues to start the turn and they understand my cues to shut the turn off and they're confident in that, then they're going to go do it for me in the show pen. So it's when we start trying to ask more of the horse than they're capable of, or we change our routine or we change our cues, and so they lose confidence, or if when we train at the house we have 5 different cues for the same thing, it's really hard for that horse to get confident in what we're doing. And so they're going to be mentally not as stable whenever they get to the horse show.
Yeah, I think that's so good for building a horse that's going to last for years with you, especially now that the derbies go till 7. That's great to be able to build a partner to be able to go for a long time. I love also how you said with each horse, you know which maneuvers you want to be able to plus. How do you have kind of developed the self control of saying, this one's only going to be a 0 turner to the right, but a +1 to the left? So I'm going to be okay with the 0. How have you allowed yourself to be okay with that?
Well, I mean, you just have to kind of calculate it up and see if it's enough. And sometimes they're not enough. Sometimes you have a horse that's just not a level 4 open horse that's going to give me a shot to go win. And so we sell those to somebody who shows in the lower levels or to a non. So if you have a 3-year-old that is extremely broke and they're extremely confident in what you're doing, they don't have to be a superstar on talent. They don't have to be able to +1 everything. If they can just go in there and start nailing those halves and be consistent, then you can win a lot of money on a 3-year-old that can half their way through things. Or if you have that young horse that has, let's say they're a +1 stopper, but just kind of an average turner. Well, when we go in there and turn, we don't have to try a big maneuver. Just go in there, be clean and correct. And so the judges say 0, 0, and then you go half your circles, you go 1 your stops, and you leave with a 222. That's a good go around run. It's a good finals run for the futurity. So you just have to know your horse's ability. And then when you have that horse that can win everything and do it with confidence, then you got a shot to go win something.
What was your game plan going into the last run for 1,000,000 that you won?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a challenge. It was kind of weird. One year, the first year that we won it on Best Shine, gonna be big time. I had been showing better all year long, but I got qualified on Best Shine, so I was gonna show him, and it all worked out just fine. Well, this last year, I got qualified on gonna be big time, but Best Shine had been showing better all year long. And everybody thought I was crazy. You just won the million last year on Best Shine, and he's been showing better all year. Why aren't you going to show him? But that horse, I've got a lot of confidence in the way he can really run and stop. The pattern set up good for him, and the ground at the million, it changes after we've ridden in it all week long. They come in and have the cutting. Or what the day before, the night before, I can't remember exactly how it's set up, but the ground changes. So we don't have the same ground, that same fast ground we've been used to stopping on all week. It's no longer there. So now we need a horse that can be gritty and push through that ground and going to be big time as that horse. So he gave me a lot of confidence knowing that he had the ability to drive through the ground no matter what the scenario was. And then he's a horse that I can really, really challenge circling, and he never takes a step ahead of me and he never leans left or right. So you could really show a horse off like that. And so I knew that I had that kind of horse. If he didn't make any mistakes, that we had a shot.
Yeah, no, it was such a good run. So when you finished that last stop and you heard the crowd erupt, what were you feeling?
So what happens, it happened the same both years, is I look at my wife and I can tell by her expression whether she thinks we're winning it or not. And I know her body language. And so whenever we stopped, our last stop, we ran pattern 10 this year. So I was already on that end. And I looked up at her and I could see the look in her face. And the look was, you just won it again. So I was kind of expecting the score to go ahead. You never know. I mean, obviously, you have five people with differing opinions sitting in the chairs, and sometimes they don't line up with where you think you're at, or maybe something didn't look quite as good as it felt, kind of thing. But I know that horse, and I've seen him. I've seen his maneuvers enough from his videos in the past to know that everything was on to the best of his ability. And so I knew it was going to be a big score. But looking at Adrian's expression, I knew that there was a real good chance that we were going to be leading it when we walked out.
So your wife's a really integral part of your whole program. Can you talk a little bit about how important it is to have someone like her being there and being so supportive through the ups and downs?
Yeah, so Adrian's the backbone of the whole deal. If it wasn't for her, I would go find something else to do. But she literally does everything but train the horse. She saddles my horses. She wraps their legs. She washes my horses. She makes sure that there's no fungus, that there's no raw spots anywhere. She makes sure that their coat is in the best possible condition. She takes care of all the billing, all the communications with the customers, unless there's a training
Mhm.
question. She does everything. She packs the trailer. She makes sure that everything gets to the horse show like it's supposed to. So whenever I leave for a horse show, I grab my saddles and my bridles, and that's the only thing that I have to make sure that is in there because she's already taken care of everything else. And whenever we get to the horse show, she gets up there and is doing any sort of rehab stuff. Horses need laser. If they need, we have electromagnetic therapy blankets that we put on them, and she does all of that stuff. So I don't have to worry about whether it's done right. I know that she's going to do it right. Whenever I go to throw a leg over a horse, I don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. I know that it's going to be taken care of to the best that it could possibly be taken care of. And so it relieves all that stress from me. I don't have to carry any of that. So it makes my job so much easier. And if you don't have somebody like that in your corner, it's going to be hard to be successful just over and over again. And there's just too much for one person to carry.
That's so cool that you have somebody like that in your corner. I bet that that's really, really helpful for not only the day to day, but when you're showing, you can focus on you and the horse and what you guys need to be the most successful you can in the pen. So that's super cool that you have that support system. So now that you've
Yeah,
won,
it's vital.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Now that you've won Run for a Million twice, how are you not getting in your own head about you're like, "Okay, well, now I've won it twice. I feel like I need to keep winning."
Yeah. That's a battle that I go through every day, to be real honest. Making sure that I'm as prepared as possible. Our futurity has always been the Super Bowl of our sport, and that has taken over. It's taken over as being the most special night of the year for us. And so, yeah, I put a lot of effort into it. I put a lot of thought into it, making sure that my horses are ready to go for that event. And you plan the rest of your year around it. Do I show that horse at this horse show? Do I need to save him for that? There's a lot that does go into that. Making sure that your horse is prepared for that horse show to the best of their ability. But yeah, I don't know what's in store for me this year, whether we can make another run at it or not. I know I'm sure going to try the best of my ability, but we'll see what the good Lord's got in store for us.
I
Yeah,
love that.
me too. We're excited to be able to cheer you on and see what you accomplish.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you are my husband's favorite rider on The Last Cowboy, by the way.
Oh,
And
perfect.
her has
Well, your husband's got good taste.
Yes.
yeah, it's you the horses, so I feel like
Yeah,
that says a lot.
he's not a horse person whatsoever. So, do you have any advice for anybody that's listening to this podcast, listening to this interview?
Advice, priorities, that's always the advice I'm going to give to somebody. This life is temporary. So make sure you're confident in your salvation. That's number one priority. Number two, make sure that this business never goes ahead of your family. It's so much more important that you're in a right relationship with the Lord, but in a right relationship with your family, that you never put a horse show ahead of the interest of your family. There's so many parts of this thing. It seems like it takes every ounce of us to be successful, but we still need to have our priorities straight. And that's the Lord and your family. And then let everything else take care of itself from there. But just keep pushing at this deal. I mean, if you feel like you're going through a lot of ups and downs, well, join the club. All of us are in this sport. That's what makes it so fun and so challenging. But just keep pushing and keep putting that work in, and the success will show up. The more consistent you become, the more consistent your horses will be, and the more success you'll have in the pen.
That's so good. I
I
feel like I
love
could
that.
just listen to that on repeat every
Yeah.
morning and say, "Okay, we're all going through it, so we just gotta be consistent, stick with it," and that is awesome, and I love the level of priorities, like, I could definitely be use that as a reminder as well, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.